You ever hear that saying, keep your head on a swivel? Because I feel like I'm the only one actually doing that most days. I'm constantly scanning, making sure I'm not in anyone's way, not putting myself in a dangerous position, not blocking the aisle, not cutting anyone off. And it's second nature for me at this point. I just move through the world paying attention. Maybe that's why it's so jarring, genuinely astonishing how many people I encounter the moment I leave my house who seem to have absolutely no idea that other humans exist in the same place as them, like at all. Welcome back to Being Human on Purpose. I'm Sarah Olin, and today we're getting into something I hope is going to make you laugh, maybe make you a little uncomfortable, and if I do my job right, make you think twice the next time you walk into the grocery store. Episode 3, let's go. Every Wednesday in our house is grocery shopping day. My Barbara, that's Barbara, Barbara, not Barber, because everyone always asks. My absolute legend of a grandmother who's 93 comes with me. She's in charge of pushing the cart. It gives her something to hold on to for stability. For the most part, I just walk alongside her and I sort of manage the situation. I'm watching for other shoppers. I'm looking ahead. I'm navigating so that nobody gets in her way and she doesn't get in theirs. Several months back, though, I started noticing something. I was stopping her more for others than others were stopping for her. She's 93 for Pete's sake. She deserves a freaking red carpet everywhere she goes. Okay, maybe not. Besides, it'd probably be a trip hazard. But I digress. Just last week, we were in the bakery section and I had to grab her cart and halt her abruptly because somebody with their phone in their face just barreled across our path. She showed absolutely no sign of awareness, like not even a side eye to make sure we were going to stop. I don't even think she noticed we were there. A couple weeks before that, a woman with her two kids were literally blocking an entire aisle, not even noticing when I squeezed by in order to get Barbara's favorite cookies for dipping in her tea. Did I mention Barbara's English? Yeah, she's that adorable. And I'm not even going to get into the Gen Zers who were sitting on the floor to choose what chips they wanted in a grocery store. But here's what hit me. I was making my 93-year-old grandmother adjust her entire path, her pace, her rhythm for people who weren't even paying attention. I don't know when the last time you were 93 was, but when you get to be that age, everything slows down, and being forced to stop with little to no warning can throw an older person off balance. Brittle bones break easy, people. It's not okay. And honestly, I had to look at myself too, because the fact that I was forcing her to accommodate others automatically, reflexively, without questioning, even when she had the right of way, said something about me as much as it said it about them. So that's what this episode's about. Not just the people in the bubble, but all of us, and where we fall on the spectrum between totally checked out and so overly aware that we start disappearing ourselves just to accommodate everyone else's obliviousness. Both of those are real. And if you're human, you've been both. Don't lie. Let's start with the obvious stuff because it's funny and because you know exactly what I'm talking about. People are wild in public spaces. At the grocery store alone, I could do an entire series on just the grocery store. I want you to know that. But the number of people who will stop right in the middle of the aisle and just stand there, not to the side, in the middle, cart and body blocking both lanes like it's a personal toll booth. And they're not even doing anything urgent. They're scrolling or just staring off into space or apparently having an existential crisis about whether they need the family sized bottle of ketchup. And then there's the parking lot. Oh, the parking lot. Walking through a parking lot with your head down, not looking up, not checking to see if the car is actually going to stop for you. You're just assuming everyone sees you and is going to yield. And maybe they will, but maybe they won't. And that lawsuit money isn't going to feel as good from a wheelchair. I'm just saying. Now, I said we've all been that person, and I meant it. So before I throw too many stones, let me talk about my vehicular incidents. I've only been in two major car accidents, one of which, frankly, I'm lucky to be alive today. Car accidents aside, I've had a few what I refer to as incidents. The last incident that I had was in 2020. I was in Virginia Beach with my kids. One evening when they were staying the night with their dad, I was driving back to my hotel. My car started making this noise. I was dragging something underneath. I didn't know what it was. It was dark. I wasn't home, so I was stressed. Ends up, it was just a plastic panel that had come loose under the car. Totally fine, not a big deal. But in that moment, I didn't know that. All I could think about was having to drive all the way home to Florida with something wrong with my car. Or worse, would I make it? And that stress followed me all the way into the parking garage. Ugh, I hate parking garages. I was so preoccupied with what was going on with my car and so focused on not hitting the car next to me that I completely forgot about everything else. And I bumped the passenger side rear door right into a pillar. The moment it happened, I knew exactly why. Because the thought was there before I even finished processing the sound. You weren't paying attention. Why weren't you paying attention? Because you were stressed about the car. Why were you stressed? And it just spiraled. And I was sitting there with this sinking feeling of just pure disappointment in myself. It was shortly after that I began to realize the pattern. How every similar incident from my past was related to a moment when I was not fully present with the task at hand, driving. So now, if I cannot be present while I'm driving, I pull over. I stop because being present behind the wheel isn't optional. It's the difference between getting home and not getting home. And the thing is, driving is probably the one place where people are the least present. Oftentimes, people go into a sort of meditative autopilot, especially on routes they've driven 100 times. And you'll get somewhere and realize you don't even remember half the trip. Muscle memory just drove you there. But autopilot doesn't mean you can check out on what's happening around you. Speed limit changes. People don't pay attention to speed limit changes. I can tell you every single speed limit change between my house and my mom's. She lives 40 minutes away, and I can tell you every single one. And my speed adjusts every time. Meanwhile, someone blasts past me going 15 over the limit 1 minute, only to be the person holding me up the next because they're staying one speed and didn't see that the speed limit just jumped 20. And signs. Seriously, don't get me started on signs. I should start a YouTube channel just dedicated to people not paying attention to signs. There's an intersection near my grocery store where several years ago now, they put up a no U-turn sign after they redid the road. And people still make U-turns there every day because they've always made U-turns there before. And apparently, hmm, signs are just a suggestion, right? But what people don't realize is it's not just annoying. It holds up the person behind them. It blocks the person trying to make a legal turn. It creates a whole chain reaction that ripples out from one person's choice to not pay attention to one sign. But if we're being honest, some of them just don't care too. Which actually brings me to something I love. My Wednesday calls with my dad. Wednesdays are kind of busy for me, huh? By the way, catch a new episode of Being Human on Purpose every Wednesday. Wednesday afternoons, I call my dad on his way home from work, and I get a live broadcast of every single driver who has wronged him in the last 30 minutes. He's cut off. He's stuck behind someone going too slow in the fast lane. Someone blocked him from getting around a truck. It's a whole thing. He's really leaning into his grumpy old man era, and honestly, I kind of respect it. But here's the thing I want you to sit with. Those people my dad is venting about, they have no idea they've become part of his story, and not in a good way. They don't know they've made someone's commute worse. They just did the thing and moved on because all they were thinking about was their ride and their destination. So if you've ever sat in the fast lane going slower than traffic, if you've ever ignored a sign, if you've ever cut someone off because you weren't paying attention, think of my dad cussing you out. And please, for my father's heart health, be a good human on the road. I had one rule in my house when my kids were growing up. Just one. Respect. Respect people, respect things, respect space, respect each other, respect yourself. Because respect covers everything else. Every other rule I could have made. Be kind, be honest, don't be selfish, clean up after yourself. It all lives inside of respect. If you genuinely respect something or someone, you don't need a separate rule for every scenario. And I think that is what we're really missing. When you walk through a grocery store with your head in your phone and you cut off a 93-year-old woman, that's not an accident. That's what happens when you move through the world as if you're the only person in it. And that is disrespect, whether you mean it or not. And here's the uncomfortable part. When you're not paying attention, you're sending a message. Not consciously, maybe, but the message is what I want right now, where I'm going, what I'm focused on. It matters more than you. And that might not be what you mean, but that's what lands. Everything we do is a choice. Every single thing. Right now, I'm choosing to record this episode instead of going to bed early. That has consequences. Tomorrow, Sarah is going to be tired. That's on me. But when our choices start affecting other people, that's when awareness becomes responsibility. Are you blocking the aisle? That's a choice. Are you making a U-turn where the sign says don't? Choice. Are you walking through a parking lot with your head down, assuming traffic will stop? Choice, choice, choice. And I'm not saying you can never inconvenience anyone. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you're in a situation where there is no perfect move and someone gets held up. That happens. But there's a difference between having to inconvenience someone and doing it with zero awareness that you're doing it. If you have to hold someone up, acknowledge it. A wave. and "I'm sorry" or "excuse me." That small act of acknowledgement changes everything. I can't tell you how many times someone has said, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to hold you up." And suddenly, I'm not even in a rush anymore because they saw me, and that matters. I think about this a lot. Why are people less present than they used to be? Because I don't think this is just human nature. I think something shifted. And yeah, technology is part of it, but not in a simple phones are bad kind of way. It's more than that. Kids don't go outside and play the way they used to. They don't navigate neighborhoods and negotiate with other kids and get corrected by adults who aren't their parents. That friction, that learning to exist around other people, a lot of kids don't have that the same way anymore. And then social media. Social media made it really easy to interact with people without actually interacting with people. You can say things online that you would never say to someone's face. And when you don't have to look someone in the eye, it's a lot easier to forget they're a full human being with their own stuff going on. And then there's the content piece. And I know some people are going to roll their eyes at this, but hear me out. You cannot surround yourself with a constant stream of negativity, violence, and disrespect, and then wonder why you feel disconnected and depleted. It affects you. I don't watch the news. I know that's controversial, but I've done the experiment on myself. The news changes my energy in a way that makes everything harder. My social media feed, it's mostly cats, things that make me laugh, and people who make me feel something good. That's not toxic positivity either. I want to be clear about that. I'm not a fan of toxic positivity. I know the world is complicated and messy and hard, but my rose colored glasses, they don't remove the negatives, they just amplify the positives. And that orientation toward what's working, what's human, what's funny and real, that affects how I show up when I walk out the door. What you consume shapes how you see, and how you see shapes how you move. And this is what I'm going to leave you with today. We are all guilty of this, even those of us who make presence a practice. Even I check out sometimes when I'm stressed, when I'm emotional, when my head is somewhere else. I move on autopilot. I've walked into people, I've missed things. It happens. But here's what I've learned. When I catch myself doing it, it's not about spiraling into guilt. It's about grounding, noticing, taking a breath, and coming back to where I actually am. And that's all I'm asking you to do. Not a complete personality overhaul, not a new mindfulness practice, not a whole thing. Just slow down a little, even just a little. When you slow down, you start to notice. You notice the space around you. You notice other people. You notice how you're actually showing up in a moment instead of just moving through it on autopilot. You don't have to move like a 93-year-old woman, though Barbara would probably like that for you. But just take it down a notch. Because here's the truth. We're all just like drops of water in the ocean, and every drop creates a ripple. Everything we do has the potential to affect the people around us, sometimes in small ways, sometimes in ways we'll never see. And if we're all capable of being unaware, then we're also all capable of choosing awareness. Start there. Notice how you feel. Ask yourself, am I actually here right now? And just see what shifts. Until next time, be a little more human, a little more on purpose. All my love.